Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. And I've been wanting to do this video in regards to Palantir and the technology behind it. I've actually heard a lot about this stock and this company probably within the last year because I follow different dudes who trade, dudes who are looking into a lot of the cryptocurrencies that, you know, could potentially blow up. And this was something that I had seen a few weeks ago about how Palantir landed a $10 billion army software contract with the US government. And for those of y'all who are unfamiliar with Palantir technologies, they've literally ballooned, especially within the last, you can look at the charts right here, year. They went from 30, their stock price was about $30, and right now it's at $177. So you can see it's damn near on the same level as Nvidia. Is getting up there with stock, and you're wondering what in the hell is Palantir Technologies. And I actually, you know, looked into this because on that Instagram post there was somebody saying that you are investing into something that's going to be your downfall. So I was like, okay, let me do some research on this and really learn what Palantir is. But before I get into what it is, let's look at, you know, the specific contract, right? So it says Palantir lands $10 billion Army software and data contract. It says Palantir has inked a contract with the U.S. Army worth up to $10 billion over the next decade. And then I'll go down into it. It says, as part of the deal, Palantir will help the military streamline efficiencies while preparing for threats. So you understand with Trump, you know, he first came in with Elon Musk. He has the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And, you know, they've been making a conceited effort to try to efficientize the government, you know, quote unquote, reduce waste and things like that. And, you know, as we're starting to see where the cards may land, where the chess pieces may be laid out, Trump has been making a huge initiative to modernize or to digitize the US government. And a lot of people say, oh, Trump is trying to protect America. Trump is for God, he's for the Bible. But when you look at the things he's building up the system that's going to replace the chattel, that's going to replace the average people. So that lets you know where his heart really lies. But let's continue to go on. It says, the agreement creates a comprehensive framework for the Army's future software and data needs that provides the government with purchasing flexibility and removes contract-related fees and procurement timelines according to a release. The deal further cements the company's role in the U.S. government's clampdown on cost efficiencies by using AI tools in President Donald Trump's administration. Trump's Department of Government Efficiency has cut jobs and programs in an effort to curb spending. And FYI, they're not going to be able to curb enough spending to save the United States dollar in its economy. It's impossible. It's too big at this point. They're going to have to start over, right? But it says Palantir co-founder and CEO Alex Karp has been a vocal proponent of protecting U.S. interests and joining forces on AI to fend off adversaries. Shares of the Denver-based AI software company have more than doubled year to date. Earlier this year, Palantir delivered its first 2 AI-powered systems in its $178 million contract with the U.S. Army. In May, the Department of Defense boosted its Maven Smart System contract to beef AI capabilities by $795 million. So a lot of y'all are like, okay, what in the world? Why is this important? So, you know, I've looked into Palantir because if you're in tech, you probably could understand, you know, what it is. But for the average man who's focused on being a tax dude, you're focused on being a teacher, or, you know, you're trying to go into sports medicine, you don't really understand Palantir, but you know that AI is taking over all these different aspects of our life. So I looked into what Palantir was, and this is what I found. So first off, look at the logo. I didn't know what this logo was, but apparently this logo goes back to the Palantira. For those of y'all brothers who are familiar with the Lord of the Rings, they named their company after the all-seeing eye or that the witch, I forgot his name, I think it's not Gandalf, I forgot his name, but the Palantir is based off of the Palantira. And we're gonna get into that, about what that actually is. It's kind of wild. And then you see the word Gotham. So if y'all brothers understand the Dark Knight, look at some of the technologies that Batman was using in that movie.
I'm Meredith, and I'm a deployment strategist at Palantir. During my time as an active duty Air Force officer, I saw firsthand how hard it is to navigate the fog of war.
So for those of y'all, if y'all ever played like a computer game, I'm big on Civ 5. I played Age of Empires with my dad growing up. Fog of war is basically when you're in battle, you don't have visibility on what's happening. So you may get a report from, a airplane recon, like in, Call of Duty, but it doesn't give you real-time movement compared to when you have, I think it's called the Thunderbird, or I forgot what it's called, but if you guys play Call of Duty, it'll have your exact location on the map at all times. That is essentially what this technology is going to be used for.
Over the past 20 years, we've been focused on the counterinsurgency fight. And all that time, our near-peer rivals have observed our actions, learned our capabilities, and grown bolder.
The South China Sea is heating.
Vladimir Putin tells the U.S. a North Korean nuclear attack could be.
Tensions between the U.S. and Iran are
near Taiwan as tensions escalate.
Now look at this. This video came out 4 years ago in 2021. Look at the specific events. You got Ukraine.
Attack could be.
Tensions
You got Russia on full-scale war in eastern Ukraine. We already know this happened, obviously.
between the U.S. and Iran
The most dangerous place on the earth. I don't know what this is talking about.
are
Near Taiwan.
Okay, Taiwan. China could invade Taiwan in the next 6 years. This is in 2021, so according to their timeline, that's by 2027, right? So they were basically predicting a lot of the global events militaristically that could happen within the next 5 years and why they felt they needed to get this type of technology. So we're gonna learn more about it.
As tensions escalate.
Now that the focus is shifting to great power competition, the real question is, can we deter the next great war? As a notional example, an escalation could start with something as simple as the Chinese military conducting a routine exercise in the South China Sea. To see the full picture and make tactical, operational, and strategic decisions, the U.S. and allied forces rely on Palantir. Monitoring the exercise, AI models running on satellite data detect an increased level of military activity. To the north, ship detection models identify an alarming buildup of fishing vessels surrounding a major Taiwanese port. An activity model detects that many of those ships are tied together, suggesting an ulterior motive and increasing the risk of a blockade.
So basically the technology is using data and computing to try to predict movements and try to predict wars or conflicts before they even get to the point where it happens, right?
The U.S. maintains a national interest in free trade throughout the South China Sea. And as an island only 90 miles off the coast of mainland China, Taiwan is especially reliant on freedom of navigation through international waters. This free trade is particularly critical given that Taiwan produces 80% of the world's semiconductors.
So semiconductors, I'm not like, a technology specialist, but a semiconductor is basically what they use for smartphones, computers, different type of electronics that we use on a daily basis. So America just ain't gonna let China take that because China knows that's a very strategic, resource hub for a lot of the technologies that they want to continue to build in the future, and America knows that as well. So that's where a lot of this beef and tension comes with Taiwan.
The device you're watching this on today almost certainly relies on these parts. Any disruption could be disastrous. So as the team watches closely with partner nations, a new alert comes in from Japanese intelligence. The Chinese Luoyang destroyer has gone dark and isn't showing up on intelligence feeds. The ship had previously been docked at a southern naval base, but AI models detect that it's now missing.
So you see how the AI, it's recording and bringing in data to be able to have real-time events. When I looked into different companies and their technologies, they're super big on real-time. Where are your numbers real-time? How can you see things real-time? Because essentially the technology wants to be able to see everything at a moment's notice.
Gotham fuses data from multiple sources to project likely paths for the Luoyang. The most dangerous routes head east, towards both the military exercise and the mounting tensions outside the Taiwanese port. The analyst identifies a key fork to monitor between the routes. To collect more imagery, machine learning models built by academic and commercial partners run on data across all domains. The models determine that satellite coverage alone is not enough to find the ship. Based on what is capable and ready, the system recommends a few alternatives. The best option is an aircraft from Okinawa. Before finalizing the selection, analysts deploy the latest micromodels, trained to avoid incoming threats, identify military equipment, and detect military ships. The unmanned aircraft receives its mission and prepares for takeoff. Time is ticking, and they need to find the ship quickly. As the aircraft departs, video streams back to headquarters in real time. A ship identification model detects the dimensions, speed, and weapon system of the destroyer headed north. An analyst back in the operations center verifies the detection, which confirms the Liu Yang is on the most dangerous path and is only a few hours away from the potential blockade. The commander is briefed on the fast-developing situation and examines several human and machine-generated courses of action that have been jointly tested and developed in past exercises and simulations. The first option involves sending reinforcements to a nearby base, which may take too long. The second option is to send a manned aircraft over the fishing vessels, which could introduce unnecessary risk. The third option is a freedom of navigation operation, which means positioning an American or allied ship closer to the developing situation. This option appears to have the highest probability of success with the lowest risk. Joint forces decide to task an American ship. Once the choice is selected, a task order is submitted, and the American ship quickly alters course. The team watches closely as the operation progresses, and as the American ship approaches, the fishing vessel blockade begins to disband, and the Liu Yang continues north without incident.
So long story short, because this is a very long video, they want to use the Palantir technologies through data, through surveillance, through satellite image tracking to be able to predict certain events of America's enemies or the Western forces enemies, like China, like Russia, Iran. When you see a lot of these reports where they say, oh, Iran's gonna do this, a lot of times they're spying on these different countries, and they spy on us too, but you got to understand America is the military power of the world. The technologies that America uses and the forces that they use, China and Russia can't really match it. Now, yeah, China might be more technologically advanced on an economic and socially scale, but when it comes to military, that's Esau's great sword. That's his weapon. That's his gift. So this is the new age of technology, brothers. This isn't, 1970s with tanks and, the shit you see in World War II, bro. This is modern times. There's drones everywhere. They have hypersonic missiles. They have AI computers that can track everything. And this is the way of the future. And in World War III, whenever that starts to pop off, it ain't gonna just be them shooting nukes at each other. They're gonna use all of these different technologies that they're building and that they're creating to be able to spy on one another and to be able to track. So that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is I want you guys to think back on something. First and foremost, let's get this. This is Ephesians 6:11. It says, put on the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And in a similar way, when I've made videos on feminism and I explain to you ideologies, words have a spirit behind them. Technology has a spirit behind them. When I used to watch Chronicles of Judah's videos when I first came into the knowledge, and he says that your phone is like a scrying mirror. It can cast spells on you. It's technology, but there's always a spirit behind it. And the reason why you need the word is because the word is going to be able to allow you to see the foundation of what the world is and where the powers that be, the dark principalities, are going to take society. Because yeah, on the outside you're thinking, oh, American freedom, Trump is just allowing America to be able to defend itself against its enemies. You have to understand these agendas is not about attacking other countries. Yeah, they have national interests, but we all understand all roads lead to what? The beast system, the mark of the beast. So you have to look at the technologies that they're creating and that they're bringing out and ask yourself, what is the actual role of it? This is Job 9:24. It says the earth is given in the hands of the wicked. So the earth is in the hands of people who are spiritually wicked. who, when it comes to righteousness, they want to eradicate it, they want to destroy it, they want to oppose it, and they want to crush it. So you have to understand, these high-ranking families, a lot of these high-ranking Amalekite and Edomite families and merchants of the world, they want this technology for a specific reason. The same way that they have BlackRock and these huge corporations buying everything. It's not about money, it's not about technology per se, it's about control. So when you look into the fact that a stock called Palantir has risen damn near, I don't know, 150 US dollars on the stock market, it's because this is going to be something that they're going to use on a grander scale. So let's actually look into what that is. All right, so this is an article when I looked up the name, because the AI pointed out how Palantir is actually, because, you know, I would use ChatGPT to, you know, ask it, like, what is Palantir? Or, you know, why did this guy say that Palantir is going to be causing our destruction? And lo and behold, the name of the company is based off of the Lord of the Rings, right? So it says Palantir, the data mining company co-founded by Peter Thiel, is named after a mystical, all-powerful seeing stone in the Lord of the Rings. One of the story's villains, the wizard Saruman, uses a Palantir to surveil his enemies. So just like Trump and the American military officials are trying to use what? Palantir to spy on China, to look at Russia, to be able to survey Iran. Doesn't this sound just like what he did in the movies? It says the stone's power and limited knowledge corrupt Saruman and allow him to be manipulated, leading to his downfall. It says Palantir, the secretive and controversial Silicon Valley data firm, is gearing up to go public, and the company just detailed its highly anticipated plan to do so via direct listing. In an S1 filed Tuesday, the company disclosed a stock list document for the first time, revealing details of Palantir's planned stock structure, its executives' multi-million-dollar salaries, and the fact that it's never been profitable. It was founded in 2003 by some of the PayPal mafia, including now billionaire investor and Trump advisor Peter Thiel. He, along with the rest of the Valley's inner circle, harbors a deep-seated obsession with the J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. So much so that Palantir's founders opted for a moniker inspired by a magical object in the fantastical universe. So, you know, people who read this at face value think like, oh, you know, they're just fans of Lord of the Rings, and yeah, they're controversial, but what does it have to do with the word? Because in the same way, when you look at a lot of these symbols of Apple, when you look at these symbols of Google Chrome and how it's 3 6s in one sphere, when you look at the back of the dollar and you see the capstone with the all-seeing eye on top of it, they didn't just name their company after the Palantir for no reason. It's oftentimes because it's a nomen omen. It says the Palantiri are a collection of indestructible crystal stones used in Tolkien's fictional Middle-earth as a means of far-seeing communication. And while all these magical stones and all these videos and movies about magic, they always have stones. Same thing with the Avengers, right? You know, think about the Scarlet Witch. You know, it's what a coincidence. So it says the wizard Saruman uses one of the all-powerful seeing stones to surveil his foes and is ultimately corrupted by the unbounded knowledge that it provides him. Sauron, the main villain in the books and the films, reaches Saruman through the Palantir and manipulates him into doing his bidding. So it's a form of sorcery, it's a form of witchcraft, right? It says critic and leading Tolkien scholar Jane Chance Nietzsche wrote that Saruman uses the stone to seek godlike knowledge by gazing in a short-sighted way into the Palantir. By opting for mere knowledge instead of actual wisdom, the wizard eventually met his downfall. Now you see how crazy everything lines, and when I was looking at this, I got some chills because, you know, it's so wild how the Most High will allow the wicked to reveal themselves through their names, through the things that they show. But the reason why is so that way he can show the elect what the plans of these people are, because it says they seek godlike knowledge. When you look at this technology, they want to have knowledge to be able to see everything on the earth through their technology. And what does that sound like? It's Proverbs 15:3. It says the eyes of the Most High are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. And that term it's called omniscient. Omniscient means your presence is everywhere. So we understand that the beast is trying to do what? It's trying to replicate the Most High. It's trying to be like the Most High. So they can't obviously be in one place everywhere. So sometimes they have to develop technology that can allow them to do it. In the same way that a witch can cast a spell to be able to see things that she wouldn't be able to see naturally. Like when you look at Dragon Ball Z, you know, I like watching Dragon Ball Z. When you look at the battle between Gohan and Cell, there was a witch who would go to Chi-Chi and whoever else was over there, and she would cast a spell so she could see the battle even though she was in a far distant land. So nowadays we don't have like those stones where people are literally looking at witches, even though there are witches that do that. But now the technology has a spirit behind it that's being used as a tool for them to be able to try to be like the Most High. Because when you look at a lot of these technologies, from artificial intelligence, data tracking, cryptocurrencies, and the big one, quantum computing, is going to allow the elites to have a certain level of power where they're gonna feel like they are the Most High. And that goes into this verse. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. All right, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now you know that what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Most High shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them, perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So the mystery of iniquity is not only when it comes to your quote-unquote religion and faith, but it's in regards to the system that will allow the beast to feel as if he is the Most High. That is the end goal of Luciferianism, of Freemasonry, of the occult, of the alchemic followers of this world. They want to be like the Most High. They have a hatred of the Most High and his teachings in the scriptures, and they try to oppose it. They're on the side of wickedness, trying to play like an angel of light. So a lot of times when you see these technologies, you will hear either two trains of thoughts. You'll hear either people say this is going to be used to destroy us, or you have a lot of people saying this is going to allow humans to be humans even easier, to make our lives even easier. But they don't understand what comes with that. If the Most High didn't create it, and you're not following and abiding in the Most High's word, he's going to allow curses to come upon the technology. I seen a brother talk about how there was an AI, and I see this all the time on AI innovation pages, where they say how AI, the chat GPT model, at times it'll crash out, at times it'll lash out, and it'll start to do wicked things to try to, create whatever it's wanting to create or hit the request. And it'll do things that the developers had no understanding or no reason why. And in my mind, it's because, the reason why is because it's coming from a cursed, flawed human being. How can a flawed human being create a system or technology that has a perfect, rational, conscious mind? It's always going to be flawed. It's always going to fall short. You see what I'm saying? In the same way that Satan has a spirit where he tries to exalt himself to be like the Most High and use certain vessels to do it, it's always going to fall short, because everything falls short through the glory of the Most High. So I want to get that, and I also want to get Isaiah chapter 14. This is Isaiah 14 and 12. It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weakest the nations?" Speaking of how, the aspects of Luciferianism and the kings and the rulers that, really propagate those philosophies, they feel like they're the light bearer. They feel like they're the one leading people in light to salvation, when we understand that that's actually speaking of Yahawashi, because he is the light bearer, right? It says, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." So in their spirit, they're trying to replicate and be like the Most High. They're trying to have an all-seeing eye so that they can be able to predict things before they happen. So that way they can use technology to predict outcomes. When you're trying to predict the outcome and you're trying to be able to know things before they happen, you're trying to be like the Most High, because the Most High doesn't rule. He doesn't move on a timeline of finite events. The Most High is eternal. He's in every era, every place, however he may want it to be. He doesn't move on our timeline. But a lot of this technology that they're trying to bring out, they're trying to use it to replicate that. And I may not do it in this video, but I'm studying about quantum computing and how they're going to try to use that to be able to predict the future. So this is more so about being able to see everything, being omniscient, but they're trying to be omnipotent, I guess you could say. So, or omnipresent. They're using this to be omnipresent, Salakia. But a lot of the technologies are going to try to get them to become omnipotent, right? So let's go back to it. All right, so it says, in the movie, you might also remember Peregrine Pippin took mischievously snatching a Palantir while Gandalf and the others are asleep. He and the rest of the story's heroes continuously dodge the enemy's line of sight in order to complete their main quest, destroying the One Ring and ridding Middle-earth of such a source of evil. Palantir, the tech firm, creates software that gives its customers a wide-ranging, searchable database to find what they're looking for. So naming the company after an object that provides a broad scope of sight might seem fitting. But Palantir has drawn criticism for partnering with law enforcement agencies, including ICE. Its ICE contract came under scrutiny from 15 members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, who also questioned whether Palantir was sharing people's health data with ICE. Palantir denied that it shared data between the different federal agencies, and HHS spokesperson also denied that the data was being shared. Palantir isn't the only tech company connected to Thal that bears a LOTR-inspired name and is drawing criticism, and I don't want to keep going into this, but that's pretty much the end of the article on this. So again, you know, obviously these things just start off as a great technology, but you already know Trump, you already know the U.S. congressional hearing, you already know the elites are going to use this technology to spy on the people in the same way they did after 9/11. What did they do? They had the National Security, the National Security Act, and they started to tap into your phone lines. And that actually leads me to this part, because one of the things in regards to Palantir, name is called Palantir Gotham. And when I first saw Gotham and I was looking at it, I'm like, bro, this reminds me of the same technology that Batman used in The Dark Knight. So for those of y'all brothers who are familiar with this scene, this is when the Dark Knight, or Batman, had to tap into a technology in order to, you know, sort through the chaos to be able to find Joker. And look at what he did.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Beautiful, unethical, dangerous.
So he said beautiful, and then the dude said unethical, because he knows that that level of tracking and data is going to fall into the hands of the wrong people.
You've turned every cell phone in Gotham into a microphone.
And a high-frequency generator receiver.
You took my sonar concept and applied it to every phone in the city. With half the city feeding you sonar, you can image all of Gotham.
And they already have this technology, bro. Brothers, I'm telling you, I wish I could have found that video about the police and how they're able to track, you know, your license plate and be able to track your movements when you go across state lines, and use traffic cams and use like just different stuff. They have it all synced with the satellite. Essentially, the AI, they already have the mass surveillance. Like, you know, China, they have the social credit system, mass surveillance. They're already building that in America. They were building that especially during COVID in 2018, 2019 with the 5G and stuff like that. The main thing that they want to do, and they probably already done this, they want to use all the data that they collect from online, whether it be through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Amazon. They want to know everything about you, and they want to sync the data of you and all these different people and identify all these different people to be able to sync with the AI database, so that way they can predict who you are, how you think, and what you're going to do. Just like when you use ChatGPT, at first it's very you know, like surface level, and then once you put more and more data, it studies your pattern, it studies your behaviors, it studies the way that you think, so that way when you ask it questions, it already knows how to respond, because it knows, I ain't gonna say everything about you, but damn near everything about you, right?
This is wrong.
I've got to find this man, Lucius.
At what cost?
The database is now key encrypted. It can only be accessed by one person.
This is too much power for one person.
That's why I gave it to you. Only you can use it.
Spying on 30 million people isn't part of my job description.
This is an audio sample. If he talks within range of any phone in the city, you can triangulate his position.
I'll help you this one time.
So basically the technology will pick up on the audio frequency, and it'll be able to track and detect. The same way when you turn on your phone, you do what? Face unlocking. At first it was your fingerprint, now it's the face scanning. When y'all brothers go to the airport, they just take a picture of your face. They already know where you're from, where you've been. Again, brother, the technology is here. A lot of y'all are, oh bro, I'm gonna go and stay away from, bro. They already have everything about you, bro.
But consider this my resignation. As long as this machine is at Wayne Enterprises, I won't be.
When you're finished, type in your name.
And you know the funny thing about this, right? I looked at the scene, I went down to the first comment, and look what I saw. If you're visiting this in 2025, it's called Palantir database. This technology is old. They show us first and they roll it out later. It's a high frequency generator. So boom, Gotham, Palantir, Palantiri, right? If that ain't the most obvious understanding about what the technology is meant for, I don't even know what to tell you. And I haven't even gone into the definitions of what it is, because I don't know much about Lord of the Rings. I watched some of the movies, but I didn't understand the lore behind it. But all praise to the Most High that he's giving me a lot of knowledge to now be able to, you know, tie it together. Brothers explain different things, and yeah, man, let's look into it, right? I'm not gonna read all of this, but let me see. What are the Palantiri in the Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power? It says the Palantiri were among the most powerful objects in the entirety of Middle Earth. They took the form of large, smooth spheres, typically of dark hue and could range in size, with some small enough to be grasped in one's hand, and others too large to be carried. The Palantiri that would come later to Middle Earth were created by the Noldor, a race of distinguished elves, and were given to the men of Numenor, who were still faithful in their friendship to the elves. It says I'm gonna go down to next paragraph. Palantiri is also known as seeing stones and has several uses. Men at times use two Palantiri to speak to one another from across vast distances, but the artifacts were much more powerful than mere communication devices. The Palantiri could be used to attain knowledge, sometimes showing users visions of the past or present. While some theories have suggested that the rare Palantir provided a glimpse into the future, nothing of this sort could be proven. Some strong individuals use Palantiri to peer into the minds of others, learning of the intents of their hearts. These powerful objects were understandably revered by the first Numenorians to receive them, and became essential in the kingdom's growth over the years. So think about this. It says it could provide a glimpse into the future. Obviously, that's prophesying. We understand that. We understand during the time of the Pharaoh, he had quote unquote wise men and magicians who would try to peer into the future as well. And on the left hand side, sometimes that is true, but we understand that it's a false power, and whenever the Most High is ready, he's going to show them to be false prophets because they weren't walking after him and sent by him. Another thing, it says it can peer into the mind and learn the intent of their heart. These data systems, brother, while they may be on a military side, they're going to be used to peer into your intentions, to try to learn how you think, so it can label and categorize you. Like in China, based off of the posts you have, and they use the data to predict what you're going to do and how you think. So that's why this is a nomen omen, because while yeah, Palantir may not do specifically that, that's what their role is going to be in the greater scheme of things on a spiritual level. The technology is going to be used to track, to survey not only the enemies in distant lands, but also to be able to track the people within America. They're building a huge surveillance system. So it says, why the Palantir are so dangerous. It says, as with all artifacts that provide great power in the Lord of the Rings, Palantir can be incredibly dangerous if used incorrectly. Users who are not strong enough to stand against its power would find themselves harmed by a Palantir, which sometimes physically hurled individuals who attempted to use them unprepared. Only one with strong will and great wisdom was permitted to handle a Palantir, and even then they were to do so with great caution and reverence. If someone was not careful, they could find themselves slowly corrupted by the use of a Palantir, as Saruman was in the lead up to the War of the Rings. Now this is going to Lord of the Rings lore. You know, y'all brothers can get into that because I don't understand this. I'm just gonna go down right here where it says, Palantiri were often kept covered by their wise owners who knew that someone else with another seeing stone could potentially use it to peer into their counsel, potentially learning secrets that were meant to remain hidden. And that's kind of what you're seeing with the US defense. They're tracking all these other nations, trying to predict their movements to try to essentially, you know, extol their will. This is Revelation 13:11. It says, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them that dwell in to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So this is talking about how the spirit of Rome would be reinvigorated through Esau, through the so-called Caucasians' rulership in these last times, and how the beast would be given power to fully rule over the different nations of the earth, which is the time that we're in right now. That wound is being healed, and they're coming to the apex of their power. It says, and he doeth great wonders, that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And again, a lot of these miracles are going to be used through the technology. You know, I made videos about how they want to use AI to allow people to live forever, to be able to put nanotechnology in your bodies to prevent cancer, to prevent diseases, how they want to merge, you know, your body with robotics so you could be I forgot what it's called. It's like Cyborg from Teen Titans, where you can't die. They can, you know, affect your human genome and your DNA so you can have the traits that you always wanted. You're basically playing God. And this aspect is the technology that they're going to use to rule, to be able to be everywhere. Like how the Most High has angels across the realm and he's able to see everything. They're trying to use that as an example through their technology, to be able to predict everything, to be able to see everything, to be able to know where you're going to go. So it says that they should make an image in the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And now that we're starting to understand that great system, there are going to be groups of people similar to China, where you have people who speak against the government, they lose their rights, they don't have the ability to do certain things. Many of them get taken away, they get sent to re-education centers, or they get killed, right? Enemies of the state, right? So this beast system, for the people who have strong faith, for the people who don't want to capitulate, who don't want to take a lot of their initiatives, who don't want to be on this system, you're going to be that target, and they're going to have all the data. They're going to be able to spy on you. They're going to be able to track you, that you're going to automatically be labeled in that box, or you're going to be a part of the system. It's just that simple, right? 16, it says, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, say he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Speaking of the initiation into this system, having the mark of the beast, so that way you can still trade, you can still live, you can still go out, you can still be a part of the system with all this quote-unquote great technology and great abundance, but obviously you're exchanging your soul for it. We understand that. It says, verse 18, here's the wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his name is 666. So, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to get into, the aspect of, you know, them trying to create the eyes of the Most High through their technology. Again, if you don't believe in this, I mean, that's on you. This is spiritual wisdom right here, and this is the Most High using their movies, using their technology to really show you what they want to do. So, you know, y'all brothers have to stay vigilant and be prepared and understand what we coming into, because they got a whole bunch of technologies, brothers, a whole bunch. So I give all praises to the Most High, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Until next time, it's the brother Ash Ibad signing out.